purpose of this webinar is to help you try to implement the program that we trained in March in your offices. So it's not something new, but I want to put order into it and give you tips on what you should do first, second, third, and so on, because we talked a little bit about it at the end of the training. But you know, it's always different when you have to go back to the office and start actually implementing. So we had this checklist, and I'm going to go step by step, and then I'm going to show you which files you want to use with which agent and how to start the process in your office. Just get the technical part going, which is very important. Get everyone used to the fact that you are now running a mentoring program in your office. And you know, then we'll talk a little bit about the systems that you need to develop in yourselves to become better mentors. But when we talk about the implementation, first of all, you remember there were 4 files, plus this presentation, of course, that was sent to you, and 4 files that I'm going to show you now. And you need to download all these files. There was a link that you could send me an email with the title PM Bulgaria, and you got the link automatically to download all 4 files. And just to remind you which files we're talking about, okay? So what we were talking about is, first of all, I want to start with this one actually, with the coaching tracker, okay? This is a very, very important tool that you were supposed to download. Of course, you have it in Bulgarian, and it was translated by the region. So this is the basic tool that you're going to use in every meeting with your agents, every weekly meeting, which is the agents need to measure, right? To measure everything that they do in that week. How many times they picked up the phone and dialed a for sale by owner. How many times the for sale by owner actually, you know, answered the phone. How many meetings came out of it. How many handouts they gave when they went outside and gave out business cards or postcards or flyers and so on. And if they're not doing it and this is a 0, then we need to work on it. How many talks have they had with their what we call sphere of influence, which means you know, small businesses in the area that they work with, you know, the coffee shop, the laundry, the laundromat, and so on. How many follow-up calls they made during that week? How many buyer calls they got? Of course, buyer calls is something that comes in. How many showings out of these buyer calls? Okay. How many times did they speak with existing clients about generating referrals? How many times they spoke with past clients, you know, just keeping in touch, also generating referrals. How many clients they thanked for doing business with them, for choosing them, for working with them, and of course, how many wows they created. Now, what is the purpose of this tool? The purpose of this tool, and again, the agents have to come with this tool all filled in for every weekly meeting. So if you're meeting on Mondays or Tuesdays, whatever the day that you're meeting, they have to have this ready, and you need to analyze how well they're doing. Now, how is this built? What is the logic behind this tool? Well, first of all, what you have here is all of these are, let's say, all this line is listing activities, right? It's all for getting more listings, okay? Very simple listing and lead generation. What we have here, these two are about working with buyers. These two are again connected to working with lead generation and sellers, and this is exceptional service. So if we work with this tool, we basically cover sellers, buyers, service, which is everything you want to measure about your agent. That's the great advantage. And then you have down here another tab. This tab is called results. And the results, again, it's very, very simple. What you need to do is you need to put in your goals, the yearly goals, how many transactions you want to do with buyers, how many with sellers. By the way, you can change it to rents and leases and so on. It's okay. Now, you can work with whatever you need. And then you need to put in 2 ratios, right? How many transactions, how many showings it takes you to get a deal signed, 1 out of how many, and how many calls become a showing, okay? So, for example here, this agent has a goal of making 10 deals this year with buyers. Now, he noticed that out of every 5 showings, he gets 1 transaction. That's actually a very, very high ratio, like a very good ratio, and it's probably less realistic. It's not as realistic as the reality is, but that's what it means, that every 5 showings, he gets 1 sale. So he will need to do 50 showings to get 10. This is automatically done by the formula. And here you have another ratio, how many calls become showings. How many people who are calling actually come and show and see a listing, So here the ratio is 1 out of 2. So 100 incoming calls per year will generate 10 deals. This is very important, of course. This person has a transaction goal of 8 transactions with sellers this year. Okay, that's fine. So what are we looking at here? How many listings does he need to make a sale? So this agent has a ratio of 1 out of 2. So he sells every 1 out of every 2 listings exclusively. Okay, so the automatic calculation is here. How many meetings it takes him to get a listing? How many calls become a meeting? How many dials become calls? What is the purpose of all of this? And you only need to input the information in black. Okay, don't touch the red. The red is done automatically. Only the black. So once you do this, and this you do one time, okay, you get a complete measurement of every small aspect in the business. You can also change here, it's black as well, how many days you work in every year, how many weeks you work every year, and then you get a breakdown. And this is the cool part, how many dials you have to do every day, how many meetings every week, how many listings every week, and how many showings every week to meet your goals, to reach your goals. And that is just a very clear, powerful goal-setting tool that is also very simple, okay? So this you do with your agents, your trainees, in the first meeting, first or second meeting when you start the mentoring process, and you come back to it once in a while, once every month or something like this, just to see how well they're doing. Because what you do is, again, I'm going back to the action tab, what you do is you measure all the time, every week, how well they're doing. And I want to remind you that to start this thing, you want to create a folder for each agent in your computer, and you save each week's tracker in the agent's folder. So if, let's say, 2 months from now or 6 months from now, when the agent comes to you, you have an archive, right? You have an archive of all your weekly meetings, and you can compare, and you can see if they're getting better or not, and you can see the total numbers, and you can see if these total numbers eventually are going to match what is written here in red, because it's the same criteria, right? It's the same, exactly same criteria that we measure here is what we measure here. And this one talks about the actions you need to take. This one talks about the results you want to get. It's a very powerful tool. And again, I don't care which training you do and which trainer you listen to. Every coaching, mentoring, and training person in the world will tell you, you got to measure. You got to measure what you do. You got to measure your actions. You got to measure your results. Put a focus on actions and they will improve. Put a spotlight on something and it will improve. Whatever you measure becomes better. And this is your challenge and your, let's say, responsibility as a trainer, as a mentor, as a broker owner, to get your agents to perform at a higher level. This has to happen every week. And if the agents do not fill in these numbers, it means they don't measure themselves. If they don't measure themselves, then it's a problem to train and mentor them. But why will they do it? It's difficult for an agent. It's difficult for an agent to keep track of everything they do. You know, agents like to flow, they improvise, they just run through the day, you know, doing their thing. But they will do it if they see value in it. If they see that by putting a focus on what they should do, helped by the broker mentor who works with them every week, they feel progress, they feel difference in their business, they're becoming better, they're focusing at the things they need to do, they're more motivated, then they will really measure these things because they will feel that in the process with you, they're actually improving. And that's the best feeling in the world for all of you, for the agent and for the mentor. So this is one very important tool. And again, every week you start the meeting, okay, by going over this tool. Why? Because when you start this meeting, you talk about how was your week? How was the last week? Oh, okay. And then we make plans for the next week, right? 30 minutes to 60 minutes meetings once a week with every agent that you mentor. This is the first tool. Now, what I showed you as well are other tools which I'm going to get to in a second. Let's go back to the PowerPoint, to the implementation process. So we download all the files. We read the presentation again and again. And again, you have access to this presentation and you can, you know, go over it. Of course, it was translated, so you have access to it in Bulgarian. You need to all the time remind yourself if there's anything you don't remember, because it's a lot of training to become a good mentor. Now, as I told you, you need to set up folders for each agent in your mentoring folder, right? So you on your computer, there's a mentoring folder, and each agent has with his name a folder inside, and you save everything that is relevant to this agent, you save in the appropriate folder. For example, yes, every meeting, you know, all that activity tracker that I just showed you, everything is saved into the folder. Now, setting up a wow board in the office. I don't know if any of you did it, but you really want to do it because, again, what is our business? It's service. It's creating a service experience for clients. It's not just closing a transaction. It's closing a transaction with a client who's happy, with a client who's going to tell his family and friends and acquaintances, wow, Remax or this agent or the agent from there or from this, whatever, what a great work they did. Oh, you have to work with them. And then we get another client and another client. Now, if you don't put a focus on service, then agents, they tend to forget or lose track of, let's say, the higher goal of this business and just, drill down all the time to the next transaction. Having a wow board in the office, it may be sometimes in the beginning a little weird for the agents. Maybe they will laugh a little bit because, hey, we're in the business of making money and the broker is talking about creating wow for our clients. But once you get the office going, once some of the agents start putting their examples on the board, like today I did this for a client and it was a wow. I made this gesture, I sent them this note, whatever, and other agents see that, okay? That's why it needs to be a board. It needs to be visible. It needs to be something very big in the office. It can be a flip chart. It can be better be a whiteboard, right, that you can write on with markers, and other agents go by and they see, wow, this agent just did something amazing for his client, and this agent did something amazing for his client, and they get enthusiastic. They get inspired, and they see suddenly that these agents who are always on the wow board are also getting more phone calls, more referrals. Their business works better because they get more word of mouth, better reputation, and suddenly everyone wants to do it. Now, what you need to do to implement the wow board and the concept behind it is a lot of patience. Service is like pregnancy. There is no half service and there is no half pregnancy. You're either pregnant or you're not. You're either committed to service or you're not. You can't say, oh, give it a shot. Let's see if it works for a month. If that's your attitude, don't do it. Skip the wow board. What you want to say is, I want to make this office unique in my city, unique in my area, in a way that people will say, oh yeah, I know this office. Amazing service. That's what I want to happen to your business. So the wow board is a commitment that's a long-term commitment. And again, in the beginning, the agents may be a little bit cynical about it. But you have your staff meetings once a week and you remind them. You'll say, hey, in a staff meeting, hey, who did something amazing for an agent, for a client this week? And in your personal meetings, your mentoring, tracking meetings every week, you will say, hey, let's do something amazing for some clients this week. And it becomes infectious. And it becomes part of your office, part of your business, okay? Now, we need to set up these mentoring sessions with all our agents, right? Which means we need to talk to all our agents, say that we're implementing this thing, set up once a week meetings now. I highly recommend that you use a calendar that can be shared between everyone, right? So you have a shared calendar, or that you can share your calendar with others, and you just set up meetings with all your agents, and it has to be, well, it should be, it doesn't have to be, but it should be the same day, same time with every agent. So it's repetitive, so there's order and there's anticipation, and agents know that they're accountable every week. Now, group trainings. I told you in the training that we did in March, group trainings are a great way, and I gave you tips on how to run a good group training, how to do simulations, how to give feedback. We did all of this during our training together, and it's in the presentation, right? So you can go back up in your copy of it in Bulgarian and find where we talk about it. Set up group trainings, start training the agents in groups, so it will save you a lot of time. And what do I mean about group training? It's, of course, what we call soft skills. Soft skills, it's all the sales skills you want to teach them. If it's how to do a listing presentation, tips for pricing, tips for handling objections, and how to work with buyers, how to do a powerful showing. There are a lot of subjects that you can do trainings about. You can simulate in a training. You can do simulations of handling objections. You can simulate a show. And a showing is, well, you can do a showing as well, but you can also simulate listing presentation and so on. So many good things that you can train, and you can actually benefit from the group, right? You can benefit from the group and let the group, fertilize each other with ideas, with stories that happen to them, and so on. So think about this part and schedule group trainings. Now, Fill in the coaching tracker during the first meeting. You remember which part I'm talking about, right? This part, the results tab. This you need to fill in with the other agent, with the agent that you're being trained in the first meeting. You know exactly what their goals are and the ratios. Now, of course, you can change the ratios later on. As let's say that I had the first meeting with an agent on May 22nd, 23rd. Okay, so May 23rd, I have my first agent with an agent meeting, mentoring meeting, and we fill in this together. And the agent tells me, I don't really know my ratios. I don't know what number to put in here and here and here. I don't know how many times it takes me, how many meetings I have to do to get a listing, or how many showings I have to do to get a transaction. Say, okay, no worries. We put in general numbers that maybe you, from your experience as a broker owner, can share with your agent. And then that was May 23rd. Now let's say that every week since then, you've been meeting and you've been filling in this. Now what is this actually? These are all the ratios here. How many dials become calls? How many calls become meetings, right? How many calls by buyers become showing? And so on. So now we started on May 23rd. Now let's say that today is July 23rd, 2 months into the process. Now we can reopen this file and we can put in here real numbers that are relevant and true to this agent specifically. Okay? And thanks to this, now you have real information, real data that the agent can actually relate to and actually understand and work with. So that's the beauty of it, that you can always change the numbers here, and these numbers, the red numbers, will change automatically. And it gives you so much power, so much knowledge. Again, look, here I have how many dials he has to make every day, how many meetings. So let's say that we have a personal meeting, right? And I can say to my agent, listen, I'm looking at your results from this week. And listen, you know what you want to do. You want to get to X number of sales and X number of buyer sales and seller sales and so on. You need to make transactions. This is what you want. This is what you're doing, but this is what you need to do. Okay? You're not doing what you need to do. This is your numbers here, right? You said how much you want to close this year. You know your ratios. We measured your ratios. So everything here is mathematical. We know how much time it takes you and how many meetings you need and how many phone calls you need. Everything is mathematical. This gives you the output of how many things you need to do every day and every week. And look at last week. You're not up to speed. You're not doing what you need to do. That's great reflection to the agent. Or on the other hand, right, let's be positive. You can say to the agent, wow, look, you had a great week. You're above your weekly needs. You're above your daily needs. You're doing great. And I'm sure that if you keep this up, you will be making more money, more transactions than you actually put for yourself in the goals. Next, okay? This is very important, and we talked about it during our session. We do this either in the first meeting. We should be in the first meeting with every agent. But if the first meeting is too long because of the tracker, because of the coaching tracker, so you can do it in the second meeting. It's no problem. So we can define the mission, the vision, the values, and the beliefs with each agent. Now, we did this exercise together in the class when I did the training in Bulgaria. It's always better, much better, when you do it one-on-one, of course, when you sit down with your agents and you actually go through the mission and the vision and so on and so on. Such as a great activity. And just to remind you, right, mission is, of course, why does my business exist? Vision is, of course, what do I aspire to? My business, when it looks its best, how is it going to look like? Values, of course, is my business stands for so and so. And I believe that, and if you remember, we have 3 levels of beliefs. We have personal beliefs, entrepreneurial beliefs, and real estate beliefs. And what we want is to get our agents to draft this. Now, it's very important, and you need to understand why. And this is not something that we had time to go into during our training together. Once the agent has filled in his mission, vision, values, and beliefs, not only does this agent and you both have clarity as to where this agent is going, okay, and there's no cynicism, but there is commitment and passion in the direction that you're going, but there's something even more important than this, okay? Now you can even train them to become better at listing presentations. What do I mean? Once an agent knows his mission and vision and values and so on, why is he going to do better listing presentation? Why is he going to get more exclusive listings? Because I'll leave you in suspense, and I'll give you a personal example. I trained an agent, not trained actually, I had one meeting one personal meeting with an agent a few months ago here in Israel. And this agent is a very talented guy. He's like charismatic. He's smart. He wasn't able to get exclusive listings. Like he would get a lot of presentations. He would have very good rapport. You know, he's very friendly. People like him. He just wouldn't sign. People wouldn't sign with him exclusive listings, and he was becoming very, very frustrated. So I had a meeting with him, and I asked him, what are you doing in a listing presentation? What are you showing? What are you telling them? And he showed me, the listing, folder, marketing and working with buyer, all the advantages, all the USPs, the unique selling propositions. And he was doing a very, very solid and professional presentation. But I told him to do, while he was meeting with me, I told him, okay, stop that for a second. Let's do the mission, vision, values, and beliefs. Okay, we did this. He did this exercise with me, like you need to do with your agents. And then I told him, listen, when you go to a listing presentation, everything is all very nice. You know the USP, the why me and why our network and why work with us and what do we do in marketing and so on. Here is the real thing. And this is a huge tip for you guys when you work with your agents, how to make them better at listing presentations. The main issue is that you need to tell yourself all the time is when I go out of the room, after I finish my presentation, when I leave the house, what is the most important thing that I want the homeowner to remember about me or to know about me? Do you think they really remember how you market their house in how many ways and you do internet and you do newspaper and so on? They don't remember this. Do you really think they remember all the advantages you talked about? No. I want them to remember one thing about me when I leave the house, and that is what is my mission, what is my vision, and what are my values. If I was able in the listing presentation to transfer this information to the homeowner, that he knows my mission in business, that he knows my vision in business, and he knows my values, then I will get the listing presentation signed. That's how you get exclusive listings. Now, of course, in a listing presentation, that's a different training. In a listing presentation, you don't read to them from a piece of paper, so my mission is ta 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 ta, and my vision is ta 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 ta. Nobody does that. That's boring and stupid. But in everything you say, everything, how you behave, how you talk about yourself, how you talk about what you're going to do for this seller, how you talk about what you're going to get for this seller, everything you say has to include how you bring out your mission, how you bring out your vision, how you bring out your values. The client needs to see your passion for the business. The client needs to see exactly what kind of person you are, not what kind of real estate agent you are, what kind of person you are. And I'm telling you this, and I will challenge you, and I will challenge you to challenge your agents. Okay? If the agent puts it on his agenda or her agenda, that what they want the client to know when the presentation is over, if let's say a third party would come and interview this homeowner now, and this interviewer would say, okay, you just had a presentation with an agent, a real estate agent. What do you remember about this presentation? I want the answer to be, oh, this agent, I know exactly what he's about. I know what he stands for. I know what he believes. I know his vision and I know his mission. And this is the way to get tons of listings. By the way, the story I told you with that agent from Israel, it's unbelievable. But after he left me, we had a meeting at, around 12 in the afternoon. After he left me, he went to a listing presentation. He got the listing and he got another listing the day after. And he has become now a top producing agent for his office. Now, I'm not going to take credit for this because this agent is very, very talented. He's a smart guy and he's also very friendly. So he has all the qualities to become a good agent. And all these qualities were inside him anyway. But he was just doing the presentations wrong. He was focusing just on the technical stuff. It's like he thought it was a grocery list, that if I do X and Y and Z and this plus this plus this, I'm sure I'm convincing them. No, you convince them by showing who you are, but letting them experience your passion, your mission, your vision, your values, and so on. And if you train your agents like this, if you simulate with them, they will get many more listings. And it's good for you if they get more listings because you will be making tons of money. Now, we were here, right? And of course, the service streamline. What is this? The service streamline with each agent. Now, this is the setup list. The setup list is also in order of the things you need to do. It's not just a list of things. It's exactly the order in which you need to do these things. So you need to start with this, okay? And then you read the presentation, and then you set up the folders, you set up the wow board, you set up the mentoring sessions, the group trainings, and then you do the coaching tracker in the first meeting, and then you define the mission and vision, values and beliefs, maybe in the first, maybe in the second meeting. And then you put in also the service factor into it. Now, if you don't remember the service streamline, okay, so it's over here, right? Let's take a look. What is the service streamline? It's an amazing tool, which I really, really, really wish for you to use. And this is obviously just an example, right? It's just an example. What is the streamline? You are going over every point of service, which means every meeting that you have with your clients, every time that you have an interaction with your clients, and you think how to make every time the client interacts with you special. Now, we did this training, by the way, together in Bulgaria. It's called Unforgettable Firsts. I think I did it in one of your conventions. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I did. Okay. I see that more people have been joining us, which is great. I want to let you know that I am recording this webinar. It's recorded, which means that it will have both video and audio available. I will upload it to my YouTube channel, and I will send the link to all my mailing list, all my Power Mentor mailing list. So even if you just joined us, that's okay. You will be able to access the full thing. Okay. So back to our coaching tracker. So to the Ultimate Service Streamline. So you sit down with your agent, okay, and you can do it separately with every agent, or you can create one for the entire office that will be like a guideline for everyone. And you say, okay, which points of service do we have? Well, there's the first time that they hear about us. Okay, there's the first time that they hear about us, and let me just close this for a second. And then there is the first time that we have a meeting, and the first time that they call us, and so on and so on. What we need to do is we need to make these times special. Okay, we need to make these things special. We need to make them remember it. Okay, and you write down which action you want to do next to each one of these events. So that's basically what we need to do. And again, you can create something for the entire office, and we write the status of it. Is it ready to go? Is it already being done? Are we just working on it, drafting it? And you can have these examples. By the way, you have this in Bulgarian. So obviously you have this file, and it's much easier to work in your native language. And the only thing is that you need to incorporate it into your system. So to summarize, as we say, because that's all the information I wanted to give you today. And let's go back here. That's the important part. To summarize, okay? Use the suggested activities file in the in-session topics file to run weekly sessions. I'm going to talk to you about this in a separate webinar, probably in a few weeks, because this is the actual practical. We have another person joining, and we're almost finished. I'm going to talk to you about this in a different webinar, because this is actually what you talk in the sessions. This is actually what you do, what you say, and how you handle crisis, how you handle situations, how you improve performance. And this is something you need to practice. So if you are committed to this program, and this is the first thing I told you when I was there, I told you need total commitment. It doesn't work in any different way. You need to be committed to this program. But if you are committed to it, then you will be going over this presentation again and again and again. And then the next time we talk, I'm going to go really in depth into these things, right? What to do in every session beyond the first and the second one, and how to handle the situations that come up. Which homework should I give my agents between sessions? Which topics I can handle in session. If you don't want to wait, and if you want to go over it before that, well, I encourage you to do this. You know you have these things in Bulgarian, right? These are all the activities. I'm going to open the file for a second. Okay, these are all the activities that I want to give my agent as homework between sessions, and you can choose from this very, very long list. So you see you're set up for almost a full year here with activities. Great activities, by the way, okay? And another thing you can do is, of course, go over this, which is in-session topics, okay? Things that you do in the session as you handle what the agent says to you, right? You give them an exercise during the session, and that's the way the agent you can respond to the agent, you can challenge the agent during the actual session. Okay, but I will go into these things a little bit more in depth in another webinar that we're going to do again in a few weeks, because you need to work on it first. What you need to do, and you know Nike, they have the best slogan, just do it. Okay, you need to start with this stuff. You need to start with just going into the process, just starting, just having weekly meetings with every agent, and you're not going to do it perfectly in the beginning. That's fine. Just do it. Even if you make mistakes, doing teaches you. Doing gives you courage, gives you encouragement, and gives you confidence to become a mentor. So these 9 steps that you have here, I'm pretty sure it's 9. These 9 steps that you have here, this is what you need to start with. This is how you set up this program. Every week, a weekly meeting. This is the subject that you do in the first meeting, this and this, right? This and this. In the first meeting or first and second meeting, group trainings, wow board, get everything ready, get the system. First of all, the system has to run technically. It has to run, let's call it bureaucratically. Once it's running this way, once you have everything set up, then we can go up to the next level of actually talking about content, talking about coaching exercises, mentoring exercises, and you have all this stuff. You have all this stuff ready and waiting for you, right? You have it in Bulgarian, in the presentation and in the files that I sent you. So you need to go over it again and again. But if you're into it, I'm here. If you're into it, we're going to do many more of these things, and you will see a huge difference in your office. So first of all, thank you for attending. I see we have 7 people attending. That's great, you know. And a lot of people joined like late. That's okay. I said I'm recording this and I will upload it to my YouTube channel, and I will send you all a link to watch from the beginning. Even if you missed everything, I will send you a link to watch everything from the beginning, and then you can, you know, be inspired, obviously learn from it and work on it. You can always feel free to communicate with me, emails, you know, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, whatever you want. Feel free to communicate with me. I am totally committed to this program and to your success in it. And if you share my commitment on your side, right, we can have an amazing thing happening together. So thank you very much for attending. You know, we can't really do in these things questions and answers and things like this because the group is too big, and you know, you all have things to do and so on. And again, if you have any questions, if you have any remarks, comments, whatever, Facebook me, email me, WhatsApp me, whatever you want. And I will always, of course, get back to you, as some of you already know because you have been in touch with me. So those who have been in touch know that I always answer. And then I will send you an email with a link to the YouTube video of this webinar. And in a few weeks, we're going to do another webinar, and it's designed for people who are actually implementing the program. And I will be so happy to see you moving on and succeeding. So thank you very, very much for your time today. And, you know, we'll be in touch. Have a great week. Have a Power Mentor week, people.